Throughout history, adventurers and treasure hunters have traveled far and wide in search of treasures foretold, canvassing everywhere from the highest mountains to the depths of an unforgiving ocean. The lust for fortune beyond measure has driven some folks to risk it all. Today's story, however, isn't about them. Instead, we're going to take in the tales of the intrepid pioneers who dared to venture to the outer reaches of their attic. Join me as I count down the top 10 luckiest finds people have discovered in their own homes. Number 10. Old coins, pistols, and bars of silver. The Reddit community is used to disappointment and empty promises when it comes to claims of users finding mysterious safes. However, when user Evil English announced that he had found a safe on his grandparents' old farmhouse, he delivered. The safe, which was found under an old rug in a closet of the long-abandoned home, proved to be out of Evil English's safe-cracking pay grade, so he hired who I can only assume was a retired Wild West bank robber to open it for him. Once the safe was open, treasures worthy of making the Sundance Kid dance with joy spilled out like candy from a criminal piñata. Discovered amongst the loot were bars of silver, rare coins, pistols, and jewelry. Not to mention a boatload of karma once the post skyrocketed in popularity. Though the contents of the safe suggest that Evil English's grandparents might have been an unsung pair of stagecoach robbers, it was their grandson that truly made off like a bandit. Number 9. Mayan murals found buried beneath the paint of a home. When the Ramirez family of Chajul, Guatemala purchased a 300-year-old home with a storied past, the chances that they'd find something of value hidden within were high. Though the writing was certainly on the wall in this case, so was a priceless Mayan mural. During a series of routine renovations, workers peeled back several layers of paint, revealing an ancient piece of Mayan artwork resting on the primary layer. The Mesoamerican masterpiece dates back to pre-Columbian times and is now being studied by archaeologists from Boston University. Depicting characters holding human hearts in their hands, the painting could be a relic from a time when people tried to control the rain with rivers of blood. Number 8. A Van Gogh in the attic. The one-eared deer of the Impressionist movement, Vincent van Gogh had to wait many a starry night before the world came to appreciate the genius of his work. Perhaps this explains how one of the maestro's pieces, Sunset at Montmajour, didn't come to see the light of day until a Norwegian man discovered it tucked away in his attic. Experts describe the piece, which was sold to a private collector, as part of a series of experimental works made by Van Gogh in 1888. Though the price of the painting, which was authenticated as a Van Gogh through the use of forensic techniques, has yet to be released, it's part of a line of paintings that have sold for as much as $82 million. I'm certain whatever amount the seller received, it left him rolling in the Van Gogh. Number 7. A Russian Tsar's figurine. Shortly before being disposed and executed by his guards, Tsar Nicholas II, and also the last, bought a small figurine for his wife, Empress Alexandra. After the family slaughter in 1918, the world-weary figure came into possession of impresario and man who should have owned the brand Arm & Hammer named Armand Hammer. Hammer sold the figurine to one of his workers, George Davis, who then left it in his attic until he went the way of Tsar Nicholas. Following his passing, his next of kin combed through his house, perhaps to confirm that he'd actually died. It was not simply kicking butt at an undeclared game of hide and seek. While searching through his attic, Davis's relatives found the figurine, and perhaps having learned a thing or two about appraising antique Russian dolls from the old man, put it up for auction, where it fetched almost $6 million. 7 figures isn't half bad for a single figurine. Number 6. The SRODA treasure. The sleepy town of SRODA, Poland was given a reason to wake up when local demolitions of old buildings began providing residents with newfound wealth. Beginning with an aging phone company building whose rubble sparked with traces of gold and silver, the town's rich past soon became more apparent as subsequent demolitions unveiled even greater finds. As word spread throughout the city of the 14th century jewels and gold coins being unearthed by wrecking crews, savvy residents made their way over to the local dumpster to pilfer through the remains of other buildings that the city had laid to rest. Included amongst the garbage were several pieces of gold that had been overlooked, illustrating in dramatic fashion the idea that one man's trash is another man's treasure. Ultimately, the finds discovered under the foundations of SRODA buildings amounted to a whopping $100 million. Number 5. Forgotten multi-million-dollar paintings. Following their father's death, the Trocht brothers of Vermont decided to knock down a few walls and test the building's structural integrity. Their game of real-life, high-stakes Jenga, however, came to an end prematurely when, nestled between a false wall and, presumably, the wall it was trying to imitate, they found a $15 million original Norman Rockwell painting. Further investigation revealed that their father had hidden it there to prevent their mother from receiving half of it during their divorce. Had the painting, entitled Breaking Home Ties, been split in the divorce, the mother would have not only received half of the marriage's assets, but also the entirety of their supply of ironic endings. The Trachtes, however, are far from being the record holders for most nonchalant treatment of a colossal fortune. That award goes to Martin Kober. Kober, a Buffalo native with the same amount of concern for priceless art as an actual buffalo, left a $300 million Michelangelo painting sitting unattended behind his couch for nearly 3 decades. It's possible that the painting's completely ordinary past as a family heirloom given to his ancestors by a German baroness in Georgian times made Kober overlook its potential value. Number 4. Banknotes and creepy notes. Shortly after having moved into his new apartment, Reddit user Lumberjack noticed a small hatch in his wall. Probably out of a concern that his apartment might be sharing a border with Narnia, he decided to investigate what lay beyond the panel. After following a winding corridor, he came upon a safe and a suitcase. Opening the suitcase first, he discovered currencies from multiple countries and several silver ingots. However, it was what was inside the safe that sent shivers down his spine. A series of old tapes and a note warning the reader to save yourself were extracted once the safe was cracked. I don't know about you, but there's no way I would have saved myself from listening to those tapes and looting the rest. Number 3. A Jackson Pollock painting. Terry Hutton, a truck driver from California, was scouting around for art in a thrift shop when she stumbled upon a chaotic orgy of paint splatters on a canvas. Thinking the piece might cheer up a friend of hers, she bought it for $5. But when it proved too large for the friend's trailer, she decided to resell it at a yard sale. One of her prospective buyers, a local art teacher with a penchant for blurting out information worth millions, informed her that the painting she was selling might be an original Pollock. This led Hutton to do 2 things. First, find out who Jackson Pollock was, and then use forensic analysis to demonstrate the painting was his by matching a fingerprint found on the canvas. After the painting's authentication, Hutton received an offer for $9 million from a Saudi buyer. But Hutton, a firm believer in the old saying, "Good things come to those who exhibit extraordinary greed and accept nothing less than a 10 million to 1 return on their investments," is holding out for $50 million or more. At over 80 years old, there's a good chance Horton might get to meet Pollock himself before finding a buyer willing to dish out the amount for which she's hoping. However, if your thrift store purchase doesn't result in being able to buy a chain of private islands, is there even a point in selling it? Make sure to let me know what you think in the comments. Number 2. A box with rare bills that sold for $45,000. In a victory for basement enthusiasts everywhere, the following tale of a homegrown cash stash proves that attics aren't the only part of a home capable of housing hidden treasures. An American family who was chosen to remain unnamed because apparently they were only interested in the fortune part of fame and fortune were renovating their house when they discovered a box in their basement ceiling. Curious to see what was inside and clearly unfamiliar with the story of Pandora, they opened it up. To their delight, the box was lined with rare bills dating from the 1920s to the 1940s. They eventually settled for selling the bills at an open auction for a jaw-dropping and net worth raising $45,000. Without a doubt, some things get better with age, and rare, untouched bills from nearly a century ago definitely rank high on that list. Number 1. $50,000 in bourbon. A couple was restoring their kitchen in Phoenix, Arizona when they discovered something incredible lurking in the wreckage of their mid-metamorphosis dining area. Hidden behind where one of the walls had stood was a safe. The couple threw everything they could at cracking it, but the safe refused to yield its secrets. Eventually, however, one of the pair remembered that when they had first bought the house, they had found a piece of paper bearing combinations to a safe on it. After trying some of them, they were ecstatic when one got the doors to open. However, their joy only grew upon realizing that the safe contained $50,000 in cash. In case the money wasn't intoxicating enough, a bottle of 1960s era bourbon was also included in the safe. Though some have accused the couple of staging the pictures and the story of being a hoax, the reality is that we know they have a healthy vacation fund and an enviable liquor cabinet. So they may say home is where the heart is, but for some people, it's where the heart-stopping amount of treasure is as well. If money itself intrigues you, you might enjoy this video about how money is made. It's very interesting. Just click the video on screen now to watch it. That said, what would you do if you found a massive stash of loot in your house? If you're not busy searching your attic and knocking down your walls at this very moment, let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching.